This week on ATV News, former NFL player Aaron Hernandez commits suicide, Tesla recalls 53,000 vehicles, and Sigma Alpha Mu cancels their badminton tournament due to controversy over its name. I'm Sarah Kravitz.
And I'm Kelly Connor. ATV News starts now.
The clock tower over the Trump International Hotel has reopened after a 3-year-long renovation. In 2014, President Trump placed a bid and won the rights to the old post office, which is now the site of the Trump International Hotel. The old post office has been a landmarked building since 1989, and it was important to many individuals that the building stay intact but repurposed.
Arkansas executed a death row inmate on Thursday for the first time in 12 years. Controversy surrounding the execution of 51-year-old Liddell Lee arose earlier this month when Arkansas revealed that it would execute 8 prisoners by the end of the month. Lee filed petitions with the Federal Appeals Court and the U.S. Supreme Court requesting a stay of execution, but the justices denied Lee's request. For the latest in entertainment news, let's go to Mawal Sidi.
Thanks, Kelly. I'm Mawal Sidi with your weekly entertainment update. Fox News fired Bill O'Reilly amid multiple sexual harassment allegations. Parent company 21st Century Fox launched an internal investigation into the allegations. The investigation found that O'Reilly sexually assaulted multiple women and paid 5 of them millions of dollars to settle complaints. His firing comes 9 months after the network's chairman, Roger Ailes, was fired for allegations of sexual harassment. O'Reilly has been with the network since 1996, and the show O'Reilly Factor was the highest rated show on the network. Even though O'Reilly is out of a job, he is receiving a payout that's estimated to be as much as $25 million. Legendary supermodel Tyra Banks is back as Eve in the sequel to the Disney movie Life Size. In the original movie, Banks plays Eve, who's a doll that magically transforms into a human. She co-starred with Lindsay Lohan, who plays a 7th grader named Cassie Stewart. Eve helps Cassie cope with her mother's death and deal with the usual trials and tribulations of being in middle school. Life Size 2 is set to be released on Christmas and will debut on Freeform, previously known as ABC Family. The plot involves Eve coming back to life and helping another young girl find love. Rob Lowe is known for his various roles in West Wing and Parks and Rec, and now he can add being the KFC Colonel to his resume. The star has put on the classic Snow White goatee and black bow tie to play the Colonel in a new commercial that comes out this weekend. Funny enough, Lowe met the real-life Colonel Harlan Sanders when he was a kid. I'm Mawal Sidi with entertainment. Back to Sarah and Kelly at the desk.
Thanks, Mawal. You know, Sarah, amid all these controversies at Fox News, have you seen ABC's Scandal?
I haven't. I am actually a Grey's Anatomy fan, but tell me, Kelly, were you excited about this past week's episode of Scandal?
Of course I was. The 2 main characters finally got back together
Spoiler
after
alert.
a year and a half, Sarah. A year and a half.
It took a year and a half for these characters to get together. That's very Shonda Rhimes. Very.
It did take a year and a half, and fans, trust us, we're excited.
By 2020, General Motors plans to introduce 10 electric and gasoline-electric hybrid vehicles in China. Ford Motor, Volkswagen, and Nissan are planning to launch their own electric vehicles in China too. This announcement comes from GM, and similar plans from other automakers comes after a regulation proposing a requirement that electric vehicles account for 8% of the automaker's production. The percentage is set to rise to 12% by 2020. Now let's go to politics with Elizabeth Holmes.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm Liz Holmes with This Week in Politics. On Tuesday, Georgia held a special election featuring Democratic candidate Jon Ossoff. Many wondered if the southern state might turn blue from frustration with President Trump. In the end, the Democratic candidate beat out the other candidates but fell just short of 50% of the vote he needed to win in Georgia. He will face Aaron Hernandez in a runoff race on June 20th. On Wednesday, Republican Representative Jason Chaffetz said he will not run for re-election in 2018. His decision came out after the FBI began investigating him. He is being investigated for campaign finance fraud and potential ties with Russia. On Thursday, Republicans announced that they have a new health care bill. This is their next and third attempts to repeal and replace Obamacare. Make sure to listen up on Monday, when Congress comes back from a 2-week recess and begins working to pass the bill. That's This Week in Politics. For ATV News, I'm Liz Holmes. Now back to Kelly and Sarah at the desk.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Well, Kelly, what do you think of this next healthcare bill?
Honestly, Sarah, I'm wondering if the Republicans are going to be able to push it through. After all, their last attempt did fail, very, very close to the actual vote.
It's very true. Only time will tell.
Tesla announced on Thursday that it is recalling 53,000 vehicles because of their parking brakes. The firm released a statement saying that some of the parking brakes on the Model S and the Model X might have a faulty gear manufactured by a third-party supplier. Nevertheless, Tesla said it is safe for customers to drive the vehicles before having them repaired.
Now we go to sports with Corey Flax.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm Corey Flax with this week's sports update. Convicted murderer and former NFL star Aaron Hernandez committed suicide early Wednesday morning. Hernandez was found dead in his cell at Sousa Baranski Correctional Center in Shirley, Massachusetts, and was pronounced dead at UMass Memorial Health Alliance Hospital. Hernandez was serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole for the 2013 murder of Odin Lloyd. The former NFL tight end played 3 seasons for the Patriots and helped lead the team to the Super Bowl in 2011. Hernandez died at the age of 27. Woods will miss the remainder of this year's major championships after having his 4th back surgery this past week. The 14-time major champion is 41 years old and hasn't won a major championship since the U.S. Open in 2007. Injuries have plagued Woods over the past decade, and as a result, he ranks 780 in the world. The chance of him being able to catch Jack Nicklaus's record of 18 major championships is highly unlikely. Turning to sports in our nation's capital, the Washington Capitals took care of business Friday night at the Verizon Center in overtime against the Toronto Maple Leafs, taking a 3-2 series lead. Justin Williams put in the game winner just over a minute into the extra period. The Caps largely depended on goaltender Braden Holtby, who made 24 saves. If the Caps are able to close out the series against the Maple Leafs, they will face Sidney Crosby in the Penguins, who knocked out the Caps in the second round just a year ago. As for the Nationals, Bryce Harper has been locked in the batter's box this April. Harper is leading the league in batting average, is tied for the league lead in RBIs, and is tied for second in runs. The Nats jumped out early to a commanding lead in the NL East. Star shortstop Trey Turner was activated from the disabled list, so the Nats are in a great position to the league. The Nats will migrate west this week for a matchup with Nolan Arenado in the NL West, leading Colorado Rockies. For ATV Sports, I'm Corey Flax. Back to Sarah and Kelly at the desk.
Thanks, Corey. So, Kelly, who are you going to root for?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, as a native Pittsburgher, I am a fan of the Penguins, so if the Capitals play the Penguins, I might have to root for my hometown. What about you?
Oh, I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what I decide. A dentist from Alaska was charged with 17 counts of Medicaid fraud on Friday for pulling a sedated patient's tooth while riding a hoverboard. And to make matters worse, the dentist recorded himself riding the hoverboard and pulling the patient's tooth out at the same time. Prosecutors say the dentist billed Medicaid $1.8 million last year for IV sedation for operations that did not require sedation.
Starbucks released a new drink on Wednesday that is exasperating the coffee house's baristas. Taking Instagram feeds by storm throughout the nation, the unicorn frappuccino is reportedly difficult to make. Baristas are begging customers not to order the drink. In a video on Twitter, one barista said, quote, "Please don't get it. I have unicorn crap all in my hair and on my nose. I have never been so stressed in my life," end quote. Fortunately for baristas, the unicorn frappuccino is a limited edition drink.
For this week's finance report, we turn to Fatima Munshi.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm Fatima Munshi with this week's finance report. As President Trump's 100th day in office lies only a week ahead, his administration faces increased pressure to fulfill the pledges made before the inauguration. One of these pledges includes the famous "for every one new regulation, 2 old regulations must be eliminated." Just this past Friday, April 21st, the White House released an executive order on identifying and reducing tax regulatory burdens. The order serves as a list of directives for Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin to address. Secretary Mnuchin will have 150 days to review all tax regulations from 2016, which appear to be overly complex, and propose a regulatory reduction policy recommendation to President Trump. Mnuchin once again committed to comprehensive tax reform, despite the Republican leadership's failure to pass a health reform plan last month. The Trump administration also issued 2 presidential memoranda on the Dodd-Frank Act of 2010, which was signed by President Obama in response to the 2008 financial crisis. Trump has criticized the legislation for encouraging risky behavior and not holding Wall Street accountable. The memo calls for a report on Dodd-Frank's procedures after 180 days of oversight. President Trump asserted that the ultimate goal of the series of financial reforms are to make America competitive again. That's back to Sarah and Kelly at the studio.
Thanks, Fatima.
Honestly, Sarah, I'm waiting to see whether or not President Trump can actually improve the economy as much as he plans to do.
Well, he promised many things on his campaign, and some things he has actually done, other things not so much. So like you said, we're just going to have to wait. Now let's see what's happening around the world with Elizabeth Holmes and Fatima Munshi.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm Fatima Munshi.
And I'm Liz Holmes with your World News Report. A Taliban attack on an army base in Afghanistan killed more than 100 soldiers. Fighting broke out in the city of Mazar-e-Sharif. The attacks are one of the deadliest to occur between the Taliban and Afghan forces. According to a statement released by the Taliban, the attack was carried out by suicide bombers dressed like military personnel. President Ashraf Ghani visited wounded soldiers on Saturday and declared Sunday a national day of mourning.
Prosecutors in Nigeria charged 53 people with conspiring to celebrate a gay wedding. Homosexual acts are banned in Nigeria, and violators can face up to 14 years in prison. Lawyers argue that those detained in Saturday's raid were illegally held for more than 24 hours. The group was released on bail, and the case has been postponed until May 8th.
Within the first 2 weeks of taking office, President Trump had a heated conversation with the Australian Prime Minister over an Obama-era refugee agreement. Now Trump has decided to ease tension and honor the deal. The agreement would allow 1,250 refugees held in Papua New Guinea to be resettled in the U.S. In return, the Australian government agreed to resettle refugees from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. The refugees held in camps in Papua New Guinea are mostly from Iran, Afghanistan, and Iraq.
That's it for World News. I'm Fatima Munshi.
And I'm Liz Holmes. Back to Sarah and Kelly at the studio.
Thanks, Fatima. Thanks, Liz. You know, it's still frightening that places around the world have such a disregard for people who want to love who they want to.
I know, honestly, I mean, I'm disgusted by it, but to think America only passed the law like 2 years ago. So clearly there is a lot more progress that needs to be made, both here and abroad.
You know, some of these things are religiously related, cultural related. It's just, something needs to be done.
But you know, no matter what, you should be able to love who you want to love.
Very true.
Hundreds of American university students hunted for Matt Damon on Friday. The Jason Bourne star reportedly visited campus with his stepdaughter for freshman day. Students posted photographs and videos of Damon at various spots on campus, from the McKinley building to Starbucks, but the university refuses to confirm that Damon visited. Now for our weather report, we go to Juliana Sachs.
Thanks, Kelly. I'm Juliana Sachs with your weekly weather forecast. It's spring in DC, which means unpredictable weather. At the beginning of the week, we will emerge from the rain and clouds that may have put a damper on some of our weekends. Monday morning, we can expect light showers that will disperse throughout the day. Clouds will persist into Tuesday with temperatures between 50 and mid-60s. By Wednesday, skies will start to clear up with partly cloudy skies and temperatures reaching a high of 77 that day. Luckily, by Thursday, It will be mostly sunny with highs in the mid-80s and lows in the mid-60s. The sunny skies and warm temperatures will last until Sunday, so you can go outside and enjoy your weekend. Unfortunately, thunderstorms will roll in next Sunday evening and follow into next week. With your weekly weather forecast, I'm Juliana Sachs. Back to Sarah and Kelly in the studio.
Thanks, Juliana.
You know, there was a very severe storm that happened yesterday, and there was high winds and hail, and I got caught in it.
Sarah, I was caught in the same storm. I went to class, it was sunny, clear skies, and by the time I left class, hailstorm.
You know what though? It lasted only for 5 minutes though, and after that it was sunny and clear skies.
Honestly, I'm just waiting for clear skies all day.
That'll be the day. Pray to a higher power or just get high. A pastor in Pennsylvania is wondering why a 10-pound package of marijuana was sent to her residence. The drugs were packaged in a plastic bucket and delivered by UPS from California. The police are continuing to investigate who might have sent these drugs. Police believe there might have been someone who was meant to be the lookout but failed in getting the drugs before the pastor. For the latest in campus news, we turn to Emily and Yukari.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm Yukari Nakayama.
And I'm Emily Lytle, and this is
What's Up, AU? AU is becoming more and more academically competitive for incoming freshmen with the acceptance rates declining. This year's acceptance rates was 29%, and in 2014, the acceptance rates were up to a high of 46%. Many applicants have applied from all 50 states and 120 countries.
Fraternity Sigma Alpha Mu canceled their upcoming charity event due to a controversy over its name. The badminton tournament was called Badminton and Bougie, as a nod to the popular song by Migos. AU officials were concerned the name and event could be viewed as a form of cultural appropriation. These officials cited multiple complaints to support their concerns. So, they asked the frat to rename the event. When Sigma Alpha Mu could not come up with a new name in time, the event was canceled. The purpose of the tournament was to raise money for veterans with mental illnesses. An AU communication official is now saying that AU should have coached the fraternity. AU's policy is to educate groups when their actions may negatively impact other students. AU officials are saying they should have given Sigma Alpha Mu the opportunity to make their own decision on how to proceed. The fraternity and the university are continuing to meet and discuss the issue.
Do you enjoy good food, music, and dancing? Wrap up your semester on a good note by joining LASSO's annual Noche Latina the weekend before finals. The event will be next Saturday, April 29th at 8:30 to midnight at the Tavern.
This Tuesday, members of the AU community are assembling kits for sexual assault victims in the hospital. The event starts at 8 p.m. with a presentation from advocates and case managers from Network for Victim Recovery of DC, or NVRDC. Then participants will sort clothing donations and assemble kits of toiletries. To learn more or offer a hand, stop by Butler Boardroom this Tuesday at 8. This has been What's Up AU. I'm Emily Lytle.
And I'm Yukari Nakayama. Back to you, Sarah and Kelly, at the desk.
Thanks, ladies.
That's it for HTV News this week. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And once again, this is my final broadcast, so good luck, Kelly.
And good luck to you, Sarah.
And for the last time, I'm Sarah Kravitz.
I'm Kelly Connor. See you next semester as your next executive producer.
Thank you.